Isn't it such a joy watching children, especially preschool age children, play at the playground? It's like within about 5 minutes, they are best friends with someone on the playground. They're like, oh my gosh, you're the best person in the world. Let's do this, let's do that. They might fight, they might have a moment of severe laughter. And then in about another 10 minutes, they're so over it and they've moved on. They've released that relationship and said, I'm ready for something else, right? They're not sad. I don't think some of the other kids might be bummed that they had to leave if they had to leave, literally leave the playground. But most times the kids just move on and they move on gracefully and they find something else to be curious about and playful about. And so today, I want to talk about what we can learn from preschoolers and the way they, with grace and ease and playfulness, outgrow relationships. And not from a place of emotional immaturity and like being like block them and delete them and get rid of them, but instead from like this fully embodied childlike joy and presence and curiosity and acknowledging that, like, that was so fun. You were so amazing. That was so beautiful. And still, we can release this and we can move on and we can show much deep reverence and honor for that time, for that season. But it is time for us to part. In this episode, I feel so challenged because a huge part of me and my narrative for a lot of years, and those of you who know I have moved a lot. I moved so many times throughout my life that I would make an easy move of like control alt delete is what I used to refer to it as, right? The reset. Just delete them all, right? Like, and it was easier when we were younger because they didn't necessarily follow us on social media. We didn't have cell phones to be like, you're going to text me. It, like, very literally, you moved away and you were away, all right? In my childhood, right? If you really wanted to stay present with someone, like, you had to take real action. Like, I had a couple of pen pals in my life. It's like, oh, I really value this relationship. I am going to continue to write to you because that was the mode of communication, right? So you made more effort in the relationships that you desired. But my natural tendency with relationships that maybe were not as important to me was control alt delete. And I say that that is not necessarily the desired way that I want to move in adulthood, because I do believe that that is not the emotionally conscious way to move, right? Because what that means is that I erased everything, right? Control alt delete means I reset the whole thing. If you don't know what that is, by the way, that's how you reset a PC. If you want to shut it down, right, and reboot, you just you can literally just wipe the whole memory and start all over again and start fresh. Good thing is might be lighter, might be easier for those moments. Bad thing is that any great wisdom perhaps that you had from the past, or even honoring the beauty of that past season, might be gone. And that's no way to live, right? So now in this stage of life, my desired kind of modus operandum, like desired way to move through life, is to move through life like a preschooler does. Like, they aren't thinking consciously about, I'm going to forget about you. You're so whatever. Like, I'm ready to be done. And it's not like a tantrum. Most times, I'm not going to say that all the time, but most times instead, they're just moving, right? And life is happening. And whatever happened in that moment that they were being fun and playful and had their bestie or their best friend that they made on the playground, that moment has passed and now we're on to something else. And this is like exciting and new. And they're not carrying the heaviness from the past and feeling the weight of like, I need to block that person, or I need to like pretend like that person isn't in my consciousness or my memory, right? They might play for a while and be like, oh, hey, friend, that you were my bestie, that I saw you at the playground last time. Let's play again, right? There's still the same fire and excitement and intrigue and the same level of passion that goes into the life, their experiences going forward. That's super important to acknowledge, is like, they aren't necessarily fixating on the idea of the requirement um, to abandon this experience and leave this behind. Instead, it's the desire, just curiosity and forward movement that like it kind of enraptures them. It's like, yes, let's go. Right. And so they aren't emotionally detached. They are embodied, like deeply embodied. And that's the difference, right? I think their flexibility with letting go is something that we can learn. Their flexibility with allowing that playmate to go home and be like, oh, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Like, yes, they definitely make it sad, and there might be moments, and we all need to allow ourselves to grieve those losses and those moments, but we also can let those things come to an end and allow the next thing to come through. Let the recess end, right? Let those moments say like, okay, that was so fun. You can allow ourselves to like be honoring of those moments and not fall into this place of like clinging and over attachment and feeling this like forced obligation, even when we know we're done with that season, even when we know that we're supposed to, I say supposed to, that we, in air quotes, that we are going to be a better version of ourselves, a more true, authentic version of ourselves when we move on. We sometimes, out of obligation or fear or guilt, all those words are so, this like forced loyalty, we stay in relationship, even though we know that that relationship has passed its expiration date. It is now something that we would feel more honored if we released that relationship and allowed ourselves to move on with more curiosity and allowed ourselves to be fully embodied in our lives and not stuck, right? So why is it? Why is it that we stay stuck? Like, why is it that we feel this need for forever relationships, friendships, right? And we feel almost ashamed of growing apart. Like we feel this like kind of self, I wouldn't say disappointment. We'll just say that, right? Kind of where we are taking on this feeling of shame and disappointment because we're disappointing in ourselves because we didn't continue to kind of force this relationship to stay when we know it's done, right? When we know that we're maybe meant for something different, right? And that fear and the attachment, the fear of loss, and for me, that fear was fear of abandonment, right? Is sometimes the driver of us feeling this like this grasping, and clinching, right? This like, I can't let you go because what if I lose you? What if there isn't something else or someone else or another possibility that I will experience fun again, right? Like, what if I leave the playground and never see a playground again? Like if I'm a preschooler, what if you leave and I never have another friend that comes, right? That doesn't, the preschoolers don't typically get lost in that because they see all the other kids, they see life happening, they know what's next, they know they're going to go, to experience something different. And that in itself can feel exciting, can be exciting. And it's not bypassing and saying like, I'm not going to sit with the grief that comes with the fact that this season is gone or this person is leaving. Sit with the grief, be with the grief, but don't get stuck in the grief, right? We need to allow ourselves to mend and to heal and to recognize, right, that there is something on the other side. And when we release things, we allow space, right? We allow space for new to come in. Sometimes we're releasing the things that no longer really belong in our lives and the things that are meant to be there. And maybe the things that are meant to be there for a long, beautiful time are coming through. We can trust that. We can believe that. But we first have to allow space for that. We have to allow for the things that don't belong to be released. We have to allow for the things that we believe were beautiful in the season. We have to honor the beauty in the season of what it was, of the joy that was there. We can continue to honor that and know that it is not what we need for our future selves or even for our current selves, right? Or like, we know that we need to release it, but we are so grateful. We can still be present with those feelings in just such deep reverence and honor, but we're not going to be stuck in that, right? Instead, we're going to embody this childlike nature. We're going to embody this childlike energy and say, there is something potentially greater in this like new space, in this space where there's like different experiences that I maybe have never experienced. And I can get curious about what that could look like, right? And just allow yourself to sit in the sense of possibilities, right? The possibilities of something greater happening. And so really inviting the excitement in of like these new connections, fresh starts, and like just what's next energy, like this, like, so this is so interesting. Wonder what's next, right? It's like when you're watching a really, really great show, that's the part of the show that you're like, you are sucked in. You're like, I cannot leave this couch because I need to know what's going to happen next, right? And that is the kind of energy that you want to have with your life, right? It's like, I know that something great is going to happen if I allow this story to continue to play, if I allow my life to continue to unfold, right? I absolutely know that something great is coming in when I'm going to let space for it. It's releasing as celebration, as anticipation, as great anticipation, and not as abandonment, not clinging to like we're attached, right? And it's reframing this idea that we aren't forcing forgetfulness. We aren't forcing ourselves to remove the past, but instead allowing ourselves to embrace the past and move into freedom, right? To enjoy the gifts from the past and move into freedom. So it's not forcing forgetfulness, but moving into freedom, right? Allowing this expansiveness and the possibilities of our future to come through. And so what exactly are you most excited about in your next season? Like, what are you feeling like is going to kind of bring you fire, bring you joy, and let's allow that to come through. Let's allow this childlike playfulness in relationships with ourselves and with others to be new and to be fresh, right? Because even in this conversation, the relationship with ourselves can sometimes be the greatest one where we're like, I'm going to allow this past version of myself to release. Like I've shared this in past episodes that is the season that I'm in right now, right? This version of myself that existed for 26 years, right? This version of myself that very literally felt tied to a desk and to my work. I will share more about my very worst boss in a future episode, but I want to lean in to this new season where it's like, wow, I'm not going to forget that I lived in that, but instead I am going to allow myself to live fully, expansively, allow myself to be in this place of curiosity of like, I wonder what, right? I want allowing this place of like excitement and full life experience, fully embodied life experience to invite in the things that are going to allow me to enjoy life. So we're talking about like living fully, like fully childlike nature, right? Allowing ourselves to release joyfully. Like, I know that was wonderful, but I'm going to let it go. Like, I know that there were parts of that were not great, that were not, fun, but I'm going to learn through that pain and I'm going to allow space for something new. And I'm going to honor that memory, honor consciously, fully the memory of what was, and allow myself to just be fully embodied in the possibilities of what's next, right? Reminding us that it's not about abandoning other people, control alt deleting other people from our lives. It's instead consciously choosing not to abandon ourselves in the process, right? So we're leaving this past version of ourselves, this season, this experience, this bestie on the playground, because we know that we are destined to something greater. We are meant to be moving towards something greater. We are meant to be moving towards something else, period, right? So we know that that's necessary. And so it's very, very important to recognize that in this process that we're releasing, we are allowing for ourselves to be fully honored, right? We are allowing for ourselves to be fully seen in this experience and not staying stuck in the expectation and the clinging to the fear of what if I let this go? Instead, I'm going to be curious about the possibilities, be curious about what could be coming through in this next season. All right. So what do you learn, or what have you learned if you have children from your preschooler? I feel like children are such a wealth of um, information, data. We can learn so much from them because they live uninhibited. And sometimes, not sometimes, most times, as we get older, we live in this version of ourselves that isn't the truth. And so children can sometimes remind us of this true nature that we are, that exists within us, that we aren't allowing ourselves to experience or allowing to come through. And so playfulness and joy and curiosity are things that we can learn to come back to in these moments. And sometimes reflecting on children and how they experience these things can remind us, like, what's the fastest way to get me from where I am right now, this place of not being as happy, as satisfied, whatever it is, to the desired outcome and the desired destination, moving towards that and excited about the journey. Not forcing the arrival, the destination, but getting excited about the journey. Okay. Getting excited about what it is to experience this, even these moments where we're on the playground, having fun with life, enjoying these relationships. And excuse me. And when we find ourselves lost in the difficulties of saying goodbye to those relationships and the emotional weight of this grief, right? Allowing ourselves to be fully embodied in that, right? Even the kids, when they're sad, like, they're fully embodied. They are like, I am sad, and everyone around me is going to know it. They're going to make sure that they are heard. And that is my ask of you. Not saying, throw a fit, throw a tantrum, but allow yourself to just be fully embodied in the grief, and allowing that to be completely released. Because in that place, when you allow that grief to be released, then something new can come in, right? If we do what most of us do, which is we feel stuck, we know that this isn't for us, but we stay too long. And I say this from personal experience. That is it's literally a part of my human design, my not self theme of my human design, which I'll share again with you guys soon. The theme for me is to allow things to remain too long. And because of that, when I am done, it's like I am done. The fire in me has been built because all of the frustration and anger has compounded, right? And now I've stayed too long, and now I can maybe have more difficulty appreciating the gift of that previous season. And instead, I'm in this, like, I am so mad, I'm going to destroy everything around me so that I can get past all of it, right? And that just doesn't feel great, to have to feel like you need to completely combust in order to feel like you can release and move on. And so allowing this to happen with more grace is necessary, right? Acknowledging that, okay, this season is done. I loved and appreciated all of it. It was so great. I need to release this because I trust something great will come in. I'm going to allow myself to grieve it. I'm going to stay in this place until I am ready to be fully embodied and move on. But I am going to allow for myself to fully, fully, fully live this life experience and live it in alignment with who I am and what I desire, and not allow myself to stay stuck in this because of fear of abandonment and loss and these unhealthy attachments that we all pick up, right? We all pick them up. So, all right. I really hope that you found that helpful. If you do, please let me know. You can find me on all the places and spaces here on the internet, on the internet. On the internet and on the different platforms. We are now on video podcasting. So if you prefer YouTube, feel free to find me on that YouTube platform or any other places that you can find video podcasting. So until then, my friends, continue to live life mindfully amplified. Take care.